Good morning and welcome to the Friday edition of Nigeria Now, showing on your digital first Pan-African news network, TS Television. As always, my name is Merciful, and joining me in the studio to talk about some stories from the national daily's front pages is Fajimi Adebayo. Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very
much.
much.
How are you doing?
I'm very fine.
Good. We have a couple of newspapers this morning. So many stories talking about the Odili's home invasion. The Guardian newspaper, the banner headline here talks about intrigues as police parade 14 alleged invaders of Odili's home. We get that story too on the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. The banner headline there is Justice Odili's house invasion. Malami kicks as suspect says he works for him. We can get that on page 4 of the Nigerian Tribune. We see a writer underneath that story. I'm a consultant to AGF. Prime suspect alleges he is a drowning man. I have no business with him. AGF replies, police parade 14 suspect. Syndicate includes herbalists, journalists, lawyers, security officers. Of course, that story can also be found on the New Telegraph newspaper. Malami says nobody has approached federal government for political solution. That's another story talking about the Attorney General of the Federation. But before we continue talking about this, the other stories, what do you think of this happenings in the story talking about Odili's home invasion and the contribution from the Attorney General of the Federation?
Yeah, it's a good thing that the police paraded the suspect, and because what has been in the news is that Malami, which is the Attorney General, who is the Attorney General of the Federation, is involved. That there is no way because of the nature, or let me say the structure of the invasion, that there is no way it's not going to know about it. But now it's denied because some of these people say they are working for him. So I think what police what the security agents needs to do is to ensure that they get to the root of the matter and lay bare the truth. And I think this is really a very strong warning to the Nigerian society, because don't forget, I think on Wednesday about 108 impostors were also nabbed in Lagos, according to Commissioner of Police in Lagos. So who were parading themselves, calling themselves who they are not. So I think we need to do more in data gathering and to ensure that no impostors. If you impose yourself, you call yourself what you are not, then you face the full wrath of the law. So the security agents needs to do due diligence to ensure that these people do not go unpunished.
Okay. The National Economy newspaper there, the front page is talking about LPG price hike, reversing gains of clean energy campaign. You can grab yourself a copy and read about them. And of course, on top of the newspaper right there, Malami is saying why governors can't back out of Paris club debt. You can get out on page 4 of the National Economy. The Leadership newspaper, the Friday edition, the banner headline there, of course, talking about public hospitals struggle with poor facilities. Two riders, the first. Experts suggest ways to improve healthcare in 29,362 hospitals. And then we see Nigeria loses $2 billion to medical tourism annually. Of course, still under that picture, or the picture of the day there on the Leadership newspaper, we see troops kill 31 terrorists, arrest 71. South Africa's former president, de Klerk, dies at 85. Federal government issues 2.7 million passports in 2 years. That can be found on page 10. Public hospitals struggle with poor facilities is the banner headline for the Leadership newspaper. And now we're seeing the data here that there are ways to improve healthcare in 29,362 hospitals. And look at this now. We're seeing $2 billion is being lost to medical tourism annually. How do you feel about this news?
Yeah, I feel so bad. Because medical tourism is meant for those who can afford it. How about those many Nigerians, the majority who cannot afford to even travel outside their domain to get medical attention? So, and it's so bad that in all the majority of the local governments in Nigeria, public health center is no longer a first point of call for them. So when anything happens to you, people just resort to pray. to prayer that, okay, God, just do this and all of that. So it is something bad that everybody is worrying about. So I think government needs to do something very urgent. And in fact, like it has been in the media for some time, people clamoring for local government autonomy. So there is need, for local government to rise to their responsibilities, because most of these things, they are, they are enshrined in the duties and the roles of local government. But majority of them, they could not do anything because they don't have funds to even do most of these things. Just like they have roles to do, but they don't have funds to do it. So I think government needs to do so much to ensure that our health sectors across the country is being reformed.
Okay, still talking about the newspaper. Let's look at the New Telegraph. Malami is saying nobody has approached federal government for political solution, and that's on Kanu and Igboho's case. You can get all of this story on the New Telegraph newspaper. On the Nation newspaper, governors saying AGF Malami working for consultant. Just get yourself a copy of this, the Nation newspaper, and read about that story. And now we see Anambra on Daily Sun newspaper. Anambra, Andy Uba rejects result, heads to court. We have two riders. The first alleges rigging as Soludo gets certificate of return today. And then the second, poll conducted under most challenging circumstances. And that's INEC saying that. We can get that on page 27 of the Daily Sun newspaper. Now, this is, will I say, this was expected in some way, because from the time where, news houses started reporting that Charles Soludo was leading the election, we saw that APC had a case. And now we're seeing that the APC candidate, Andy Uba, is rejecting the result. What do you take of this?
Of course, he has a right to reject and to head to court, because if you are not pleased with any situation or circumstance, so it is your right as a Nigerian, as a candidate in that election, to go to court and challenge whatever you think you are not satisfied with. So, but the whole process, the entire process is obvious, and even international observers said, the process is very fair, and the election is credible. However, so if he thinks he's not satisfied with the outcome of the election, with the result, whatever he thinks is not right in the process that that contributed to his defeat, of course he can go to court and challenge it. So the court will now decide whether his argument is valid or not.
All right. On the Vanguard newspaper, the banner headline there is insecurity. Federal government under attack, over 3,906 fleeing inmates. That story can be found on page 5 of the Vanguard. Yaya Bello is saying governors not afraid of direct primary. We can get that story on page 7. Then concerned APC stakeholders demand Buni's resignation over party's misfortunes. That can be found on page 35. And then we see agitation. Zohanese ADF Nuodo back political solution. We can get our story on page 9. And of course, we're still seeing the story on Anambra poll. Andrew Uba rejects result as Soludo gets certificate of return today. Just on top of the Vanguard newspaper, Femi Gbajabiamila is saying why I pushed for direct primaries. We can get the details of that story on page 8 of the Vanguard newspaper. And Pentami professorship, Bauchi Varsity ASU dissociates self from VC's congratulatory messages. Can get our story on page 7 of the Vanguard. And then we see something on mass killings come to our aid before we are wiped out. That story is coming from Kaduna Royal Father as he's pleading that federal government should come to their aid before they're wiped out. We can get our story on page 20, of course, of the Vanguard newspaper, and just stay abreast of what's happening in Nigeria and stay updated with what's happening across Africa by going to our website and keeping up with us on www.tostvnetwork.com. Also, do not forget that you can follow us on our social media platforms at TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you for joining us on Nigeria Now today. Thank you very much, because we are here for you, and just make sure that you're staying updated with what's happening in Nigeria every time, and stay tuned to TOS TV Network. My name is Merciful Ajino. See you next week.